Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar for Suprema BioStar 2 Time Attendance Beginners Crash Course. First, I would like to introduce myself before we start. My name is Hatem Kahla. I have been working with Suprema for more than 2 years now as a regional technical manager for the Middle East region. I would like also to introduce a couple of my colleagues from South Korea, Suprema headquarter office. We have today with us Kate, we have Lani, and we have Neon. So 3 of them are going to support today's webinar regarding your live question in the Q&A session. So today's webinar is about the basic configuration of BioStar 2 time attendance as a crash course, and it's going to take around 3 hours. So today's webinar, we are going to discuss about 8 points. The first point is the webinar goal. Then we will understand the time attendance license, and then how to activate the license online and offline. Then we are going to discuss the concept of BioStar 2 time attendance, which is the 24-hour shift. Followed by that, we are going to activate the time attendance module and start to register the devices. After that, we will go with the big portion of today's webinar, which is the configuration of the time attendance module by starting with the codes, shift, then schedule template, rules, and finally the schedule. After we configure that, we need to check our reports, and we have a couple of limitations we need to highlight it, and how to export the report file by CSV or PDF. And as you can see, after every point we are going to discuss, there is a Q&A session. So please pay attention to each point, and if you have a question, please note it down in the Q&A, and we will answer you. Or raise your hand and you can speak out your question. So let's start. So today's webinar goal is to understand the feature and the capabilities of Suprema BioStar time attendance module. So all the information in this webinar is useful for the sales and pre-sales and the technical team as well. But it is important for the sales team to understand the limitation of BioStar 2 time attendance to avoid unsupported features which is sold to the customer. This is one of the most important points which need to be highlighted to the sales team. So BioStar 2 time attendance is a module which is serve as an add-on to BioStar 2 platform, and it is very easy to be integrated also with HR or ERP system for the customer. So let's start with the license structure. So before we talk about BioStar 2 time attendance license, we need to understand that BioStar 2 license has 4 categories. So the first one is access control license. Second one is time attendance license. Then we have a video license. And finally, we have a visitor license. What we are going to discuss today is the time attendance license. So during the webinar, if you get lost, where are we standing? Please note that there is a small tool on the top, which shows exactly which point we are discussing. So now we are at the second point, which is the license. So BioStar 2 time attendance license, once you install BioStar 2, excuse me, once you install BioStar 2 application on the application server, then it will be having a starter version. This starter version, which we call the free version, is having up to 100 users for free. So if you have a customer where they have less than 100 users, they can use BioStar 2 time attendance fully for free. However, if your customer has more than 100 employees, up to 500 employees, then you should buy or procure a standard license from your sales representative. On the same concept, if your customer has more than 500 employees, up to 1,000, then he needs to have an advanced license. And finally, if they are more than 1,000, you need to go to professional license, which is unlimited. So as you can see, we have 3 licenses you can buy for BioStar 2 time attendance, which they are standard, advanced, and professional. But please be aware that also BioStar 2 access control license has also standard, advanced, and professional. So when you are procuring a time attendance license, please make sure to say it is a BioStar 2 time attendance license. So that's everything about the license for BioStar 2 time attendance. So to activate the license, once you purchased the license, you need to activate it. So in order to activate this license, you need to have internet on the application server, or there is no internet on the application server. But before that, you are going to receive 16 numbers, which we call it the license key, in the form of 4x4, separated by hash between each 4 digits. So please make sure that your license are 16 digits, not less, not more, because it's going to be wrong. So you can activate BioStar 2 license either online, which means there is an internet connection on BioStar 2 application server, or offline. And for most of the government sectors, there is no internet allowed on the application server. So that's why we are going to have something called offline activation. So we are going to explore both of them now. So how to activate the online license? Again, I need to remind you that you must make sure that you have the 4x4 license key. Then you need to go setting, server, license. Then, as you know that we have 4 categories, you need to go to the time attendance license. You type the customer name, you type the 16-digit license key, and then you click activate, and that's it. What's going on? That BioStar 2 is going to communicate with the license server to validate your license key. If you face any issue, there is a link which is available on the webinar, which is going to be provided to you at the end after 5 days from today, which have all the troubleshooting steps. Also, this article is available on our support portal, which is support.supremainc.com. Not to remind you again, do not forget that it's this 16-digit, and you need to type the license key in this format, 4x4, and each 4 digits followed by hyphen or hash or minus. What about activating offline license? Actually, there is a few small steps which is very easy to follow to get your offline license key. So at the same thing, you need to go to settings, server, license, but you don't go for activate license online row. You will go for activate license offline row and hit the request offline key. Once you hit this button, a pop-up window is going to appear where you are going again to write your customer name in this field. And again, you need to provide your purchased license key into the activation key, followed by hitting the button of download. Once you hit the button of download, you are going to have file name with extension of .req, which we call it request file. Please send that file to your sales representative. Accordingly, he's going to return back to you with file name extension .lic. So .lic here refers to that this is a license file. So this is to distinguish between the request file and the license file from the extension. And please save that file into your BioStar 2 server hard disk, for example, on the desktop. So you need to go back again to the license part, which is settings, server, then license. Go to the time attendance section. Go to the activate license offline, which is the second row under time attendance, and hit activate button. Once you hit activate button, a pop-up window is going to pop up. Please locate your file, which is .lic, and click open. Then your license is going to be activated. So let's have a quick demonstration about this online and offline activation. Then we will have a quick Q&A session if you have any question related to the license. So this is my BioStar 2 login page. So I am going to log in. Before we go to activate the license, if you hit the About button, you will see that this is the version of BioStar 2, which is 2.8.0.106. And if I have any license, it's going to be listed down here. As long as there is no any license listed here, this means that this is the starter version completely for BioStar 2 application. So as we agreed, we need to go to settings, server, scroll down, license section. Then those are the 4 categories which we have explained. So I'm going to activate the time attendance license as offline. So for online, I'm going to activate the access control as a demonstration. The same steps which we are going to do now for the access control is exactly what you need to follow in the time attendance. So I'm going to write the customer name, for example. Then I'll get my key, which is actually here, it is a demo license. So I type my key, click activate. Now, as we agreed, now the application is trying to communicate with the license server in order to get activated, and here it is. It is activated, and if you hit about, now you will see that you have a license has been applied, which is actually now for access control. Now, let's see how to activate offline license. We will demonstrate that in the time attendance. So you need to go to hit the button of request offline key at the second row, and you need to type the customer name, you need to type the key, then you click download. You will have the request file. Please send it to your sales representative. He will come back to you with a file .lic extension. So you come back here, click activate. Next to the activate license offline, a window is going to open. There is my license for the time attendance offline. I click open, and it is checking it, registering it in Windows registry, and then it got activated. And if you hit about to confirm, you will see that now I have the time attendance professional license. So this is how to activate online and offline license. I hope that this was clear for everyone. So if anyone has a question, please hit the Q&A button or raise your hand. I will unmute your mic, and accordingly you can speak out your question. I think that's okay. Everyone understand it. So I will keep moving. So the most important part of BioStar 2 time attendance is something called 24-hour shift. So let's understand this concept and make sure that everyone is fully understood, because this is the base, the foundation, the concept of how BioStar 2 time attendance calculate and generate the reports. So, for example, this is your 24 hours, which is usually for a day, which starts from midnight, 12 a.m. until 11:59 minutes, 59 seconds on the same day, because the next second is going to be the next day. So in order to have successful transaction and report, your check-in transaction and check-out transaction should be done within the 24 hours. If your both transaction is within the 24 hours, this means you will have a result that you have worked 9 hours for this 24 hours, which usually it is a day. Okay, now one of the most parameter in BioStar 2 time attendance called day start time. So day start time is the sensitive parameter with 24-hour shift, because this is the starting of the 24-hour shift. Let's try to understand that. So day start time is the set point of the starting of the 24 hours. So for example, if we set up the day start time, which we are referring here in our webinar as DST, please do not get confused or mixed up with daylight saving time. What we are referring here in today's webinar is day start time, not daylight saving time. So if day start time is set up in BioStar 2 to 000000, which means it is 12 a.m., this means it is going to be exactly with the days, which means if today is Wednesday, yesterday was Tuesday, tomorrow is Thursday. How do we define the starting and ending of each day? So Tuesday is starting from midnight, which we know 12 a.m. until 23 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds, which is 11 p.m. 59 minutes, 59 seconds. The next second, it is going to be Wednesday. And of course, as everyone knows, it is also until 23:59:59. And when the watch or the clock tick the next second, it is going to be Thursday, which this is the normal of every day. So the day start time of the days which we know is 0000, which means that this is the set point where it's changing the days. The same concept BioStar to follow. So within this setup, if you come to your duty by 8 a.m. and you left by 5 p.m., then you will have a correct report, which is 9 working hours. So what if the transaction done out of the 24-hour shift? How the report will look like? When we generate a report, what result are we going to find? So this is our normal day start time with 00, which is same as the days. So if you come at night shift and you checked in at 8 p.m. and then you finish your duty and you checked out by 5 a.m. So what happened here? Now both the transactions are not within a 24 hours because you have passed the day start time. So when you run the report for such thing, so on Tuesday, the report will show that on Tuesday you have checked in. Yes, you have checked in on 8 p.m. but you have missing check out because the day has been closed. You have passed the day start time. And on Wednesday report, you don't have check-in. However, you have check out at 5 a.m. This is because the set day start time set point was in between the two transactions. And how to solve this situation, we need to create a night shift. So what do we do for the employees who are working at night shift? So we need to have an example that we have a night shift from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. So we need to select the day start time to be 3 to 4 hours earlier than the starting duty time. So if the duty time at night is 8 p.m., so let's say -4. So let's set up our day start time to be 4 p.m. So in this setting that we have set, the set point of changing the days is 16. This means that Tuesday is up to 15, 59, 59, which is 3 p.m., 59 minutes, 59 seconds. The next second is going to be the next day, which is 4 p.m. and this is as per our DST. So when you do the check-in at 8 p.m. and you do the checkout at 5 p.m. now you have both transactions in and out within a 24 hours, which has been set to be started by 4 p.m. Now, when you run the report, you will have that on Wednesday, you have worked for 9 hours. So please make sure that you have fully understand the day start time point. Let's have an example that you have a company with morning shift and night shift. So the morning shift, we will say it's from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. And the night shift, it is from 8 p.m. to 5 p.m. So this means we need to create 2 shifts in our BioStar 2 time attendance module. So the morning shift, DST should be 3 a.m. Why 3 a.m.? As we said, 3 to 4 hours before 7 a.m. So for the morning shift, when you create the shift, which is coming in the following slides, how to create the shift. So we are going to set the DST for this company to be like 3 a.m. to assure that anybody comes before 7 a.m. still his transaction will be within the 24 hours. For the night shift, 8 minus 4, so we will set up at 4 p.m. So if we start with the morning shift, that 3 a.m. is the day start time set. So of course our set point is going to be starting the previous day will be 2 a.m. 59 minutes, 59 seconds. And of course, once it's hit next second, which is 3 a.m., it's going to be the next day. So the employee comes by 7 a.m. and he leaves by 4 p.m. as per his schedule. Accordingly, it is going to have the right report because both transaction has been done within the 24 hours. On the same concept, if we go for the night shift with the day start time as 4 p.m., so 3 p.m., 59 minutes, 59 seconds, it is the previous day, and 4 p.m. is the starting of the next 24 hours. So when you do the transactions of your duty between check-in 8 p.m. and you leave by 5 a.m. in the morning, your both transaction has been done and completed within 24 hours. So let's continue. So after we have activated the license and we understood the basic concept of BioStar 2 time attendance, which is a 24-hour shift, we need to activate the time attendance module and register the devices. So these two topics I'm going to discuss now. So once BioStar 2 is installed, BioStar 2 time attendance will require to be activated. So once you go and hit the time attendance menu, accordingly, it is going to request for time attendance registration. So you need to put the username admin, which is the administrator user, and you put the password and then click register. Then once you click register, BioStar 2 is going to register time attendance and it's going to restart the services and reload the page in order to log in again. After you log in again and you go to the time attendance, you will see the setting button. Please hit the setting button. In my demonstration, this is not going to appear because it was registered before. So it is going to move us directly into this page. So please note that this page is going to show for the first time when you hit setting. After this, you will go to the setting page of BioStar 2, where it has this part where you will see all the devices added to BioStar 2 under the unregistered devices, and you can select the devices which you want to use for time attendance, because you might have a couple of devices for access control and a couple of devices for time attendance. So you need to choose which devices you would like to have them for time attendance, so only transactions has been successfully completed and authenticated on those two devices is going to be used for the time attendance. All the other unregistered devices transactions are not going to be on the time attendance report. So once you hit register after choosing the devices, they are going to be registered. Then you click the back button, which is next to the setting. Then your time attendance module is ready to be configured. You also can add more registered devices, or you can unregister devices. So it is not only one time. So if you would like to go back to the setting of BioStar 2 time attendance, you have that small icon here, which is the gear icon. Once you click on it, you are back again to the setting. And again, you can add more devices, or you just choose from the registered devices and click on register. So before I go to the next point, I would like also to show that in this setting page, there is two more parts. We have discussed the unregistered devices and registered devices, and we have discussed the unregistered button, and we are going to discuss now the setting. However, there is something here called sender information. Some of you might be having a question, what is it for? Actually, here it is to set a mail configuration for one of our reports, which will be at the point number 7 in our agenda, the reports. The report number 8 in our reports is going to use this email configuration in order to send automated email for particular report only. Please be aware, for only particular report if you enable that feature. Also, the last point in our agenda, which is export. As you can see, there is the CSV export, and you will use the comma as a comma delimited separation. So it can be comma or slash. So by default, it's usually comma. However, if you would like to change it, it can be changed from here. So back to setting, you need some time to change the device setting regarding the time attendance. So you have two options. Option one is to check the boxes for couple of or all the devices and hit the setting button where it is going to be applied for all the devices, or you just click on the name of the device, and then once you click on it, it is going to show you this page. So this is the page where you need to configure the time attendance on the device. So let's navigate quickly through it. You have a couple of options for the time attendance mode. So the first is not used. So this means no recording of the transaction is going to be used for the time attendance report. There is by user, by schedule, last choice, and fixed. So those options are available in the devices which has buttons or touch screen, and it will be limited for the devices without touch button and screen. We are going to explore every option of them, but let's continue understanding the menu of that window when you hit the setting of time attendance of the device. So the second thing is TNA required. So TNA required is very, very useful for customers who they want to force the users to choose one of the function keys which you have created. So if you enable this, none of the transaction is going to be accepted on the device unless it chooses a function key. So for example, if you have a face station 2 and you show your face, then automatically it is, if this feature is open, time attendance required is yes, it's toggled to yes and it's used, then you show your face to the face station 2 device, automatically it's going to pop up all the function keys which we have configured. Then you must use or click one of those function keys. If you did not, then your transaction is going to be rejected. So if you would like this feature, it is available under the TNA required. So let's go for the first TNA mode, which is by user. So when you, if you see when you choose the TNA mode by user, you will see that the table has 4 columns. The first column name is TNA event key, which all the devices has 16 codes. And the second column is called label, and it has a 16 character to be displayed on the device by any language. As you can see, I typed here in English, and the Arabic word translation of in, which is dukhul in Arabic, as I'm from the Middle East and I'm Egyptian, so I'm Arabic speaker. So the same thing I have done for the code to writing out in English and the Arabic word. So any language supported in BioStar 2, you can type it within the 16 character. And what you type here is going to perfectly display it even with the characters on the device. Then on the TNA type, we have 3 functions can be calculated in the time attendance report. The first one is the in and out. So you can set up check in, check out. So accordingly, it will calculate this as duty. The second one is the break. So you can set up a key for break start and break end, which is going in the report to calculate how long have you took the break. And the last function is the meal time. So you can also have 2 function keys to calculate the meal, which is meal time start and meal time end. And here is one of our reports limitation that we don't have, for example, personal excuse, for example. Let's assume I'm at work and I got an emergency situation at my home. So I would like to leave the office. So I'll go to the device to choose, for example, a personal excuse. And then after 1 or 1.5 hours, I'm back, then personal excuse end. Then it needs to be shown on the report. Actually, we don't have this. We have only those 3, check in and out, break time, meal, time. But however, if you want to use it out of the 16 code, you can use it, but it will be written into the database, and you can integrate it with your own application to get when he left for special permission, personal excuse, or extra HR policy at your customer. So this is the time attendance mode by user. If we go to the next one, which is by schedule, you will see that it has the same 3 columns, but there is additional column, which is the schedule. So by schedule, for example, you will choose for the code one, it is check-in, and you are going to choose the time 6 to 11. This means that from 6 a.m. to 11 a.m., any transaction done on the device, it is going to be by default as in. And if you go for the second code and you make it check out and you choose the schedule 11 to 16, which is 11 to 4 p.m., this means any transaction done in the time period of 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., it is going to be automatically taking the code 2, which you have choose the TNA type as check out. So this is by schedule. Last choice, it is exactly the same, only default 3 columns. So you will choose the normal codes, which is almost the same as by user. However, the first employee who comes in the morning to the office, he opened the key, the function keys. So he will have the list of the available function keys. Then he will choose check-in. Then check-in icon is going to be displayed on the device that every user comes, the device here now at last choice. He just only to show his face and go in, because last choice for the first employee who arrived to the office, he has chosen already in. So no need for each employee who is arriving to the office to again go and choose a function key. It is by default now last choice until the duty is almost end, and the first employee leaving the office is going to change that end button to out, then show his face. Then accordingly, every employee is leaving the office, all what he needs to do is just only show his face, it's going to be out. So this is the TNA mode last choice. Now for the fixed, this is usually that you will have 2 devices. One device you will have fixed code as in, and you'll have a second device fixed code as out. So everyone in the morning should go to the end device, show his face, and at the duty, when the duty is over and finished and it's time to go home, he needs to go to the second device which has a fixed code which is out. So no need to choose any or touch the device to choose your function key. So this is the fixed TNA mode, which is, as you can see, you just type the code label, and then you choose the TNA type. It is in, out, break, start, break time, as per what you want. And of course, you might have a lot of codes. You can choose which code this device should follow for every transaction done on that device. Also, I would like to highlight that this window, which we have taken out from the setting of time attendance menu, it is not the only place which you can change the device setting for time attendance. Still, you can go to the device menu, click on the device, go to the advanced part of the device configuration menu, and there you will find the time attendance where you can do the same, almost the same configuration. So let's have a quick demonstration for it. Then after that, a Q&A session, and then we will have around 10 minutes break in order to be ready for our next point, which is the configuration, which is the main part of today's webinar. So if you allow me to open my BioStar 2, and as we said, once you click time attendance for the first time, it is going to ask for time attendance registration. So you need to use the administrator privilege, and which is admin, and the login ID is admin, and put the password. What is happening now? It is registering the time attendance, which is actually integrating the time attendance database with the access control database. And as we see, once it is completed, then it will reload because it restarted the services. So you need to go log in again Now, if you go to the time attendance menu, it should have the setting button, if you remember. Then when you click the setting button, this window is going to be in front of you. So an example for unregistering the device, I choose all the devices, I unregister. This should be what's in front of you. All the devices which are on BioStar 2 are going to be displayed under the unregistered devices. So I will assume that I'm going to use the BioStation A2 as well as Face Station 2 as for time attendance devices. So once I choose the devices, I hit the button register. Now they are registered and they are being ready to be used for time and attendance, as all the other devices, for example, at this customer side is for access control. So as we agreed, if we select all the devices which is registered and hit the setting button, this setting button is going to be apply for all. So for example, now I'm changing it all to be not used. So if you go inside the BioStation E2, it is not used. If you go inside Face Station 2, it is going to be updated to be not used. It's going to take just some time. So if we, it is already not used. Okay. It is already not used. So again, in order to show that, select all, setting, I'm going to make it by user and click apply. It is going to update both devices. So if I enter the device, to see now it is by user, and if I go to the Face Station 2, it is now by user. So this is how to apply to all by checking all the checkboxes of the devices or all of them, then setting, do your modification, it is going to apply for all. However, if I want to change only Face Station 2, so I'm going to make it by user and TA required. Yes, do you remember this button? So this means none of the transaction is going to be recorded or logged into the database without choosing a function key. I can type any language within 16 characters. So out here, I'm going to add the Arabic word for it. And this what is going to be displayed. And this code is check in, this code is check out, this is break, start, and this is break end. And I'm having more codes as this is meal start and this is meal end. And still I have 10 more codes because total is 16. Then I click apply. This is applied only to the Face Station 2. BioStation A2 still the same, we did not configure it. However, this is not the only place to change the device setting. You can still go to the device and, for example, the BioStation A2, and as we said, you go to the advanced tab, then you will see the time attendance is there. So what you do here, and we click apply, it is going to be reflected, as well as if you see the Face Station 2, which we have registered. If we scroll down to the advanced and check, we will see out that what we have written there, it is there. So back to the time attendance module and BioStation A2, what you have done here, it is reflected there and so on. So after you have finished your registering the device and setting up the devices, you need to go back. Before I go back, let me show you that this is the sender information regarding report number 8. So here you need to configure the sender information for that report number 8. And here is comma or slash separator for the CSV export, which we are going to discuss at the end of our webinar today. So once you go back, this is your time attendance menu. And it is ready to be configured for our next discussion point, configuration. So let's have a quick Q&A session, then followed up by a break. So welcome back, everyone. Let's continue today's webinar about BioStar 2 time attendance. Quick recap, we have discussed the license. We know now how to activate the license offline and online. We understood the concept of 24-hour shift. And then the next step is to register the time attendance and devices and to change the setting of the device. Now we are going to go to configuration part. Please pay attention. So your questions, which most of your questions is related to this part. So part by part, I'm going to explain. And if you have any question, let's go ahead. So we are going to check the configuration of time codes and shifts, schedule template, rules, and schedule. So please note that time attendance module is for time rates and it is not as payroll. So you cannot set the parameter of the working hour rates in amount of monies in order to calculate the salaries. It is only for time rates to show how many hours has been worked or break or meal. So the first thing we're going to discuss today is the time code. Then we have the shift, we have the schedule template, rules, if any, to be configured, and finally the schedule. Let's start with the first point, which is time code. So you go to time attendance module, you click on the shift tab, time code, then add time code. Once you click on add time code, this window is going to be in front of you. As of course, self-explanatory, I don't need to highlight it. You need to put the name for the time code and any description you would like to. And for the types, we have 3 types in the time code. The first type is attendance management, which is the time rate for each hour as normal attendance. Then we have the overtime management, which the time rate for any overtime is going to be done. Finally is a leave management. So you can select any of the 3 options to configure your time codes. I will show that in the live demonstration. Then we have the time rate, which you can set up the multiplication factor. It is 1, 1.5, 1.25, 1.25, 2, 3.5, or whatever it is. And you can show a color for the attendance management type as well as the overtime management. So please be note that if the time code is used by a shift, so you have configured a shift and you have used that time code, the type of that time code cannot be changed until you delete, unless you delete or change that time code in the shift. And if the type is set to leave management, then the time rate cannot be set or changed. So let's go for a quick demonstration for it, for the time code. So you go to the time attendance module, you click on the shift, it's on the time code. This is a couple of the time codes which we are going to do. And if the time codes is being used by a shift or schedule, you will not be able to delete it. So even the shifts, if it's used by his template or if the schedule is using the template. So I'm going to delete everything in order to be able to delete. I'm showing that in front of you because sometimes there is a question I cannot delete because it is being used as per the pop-up message shown in front of you. So deleting everything, now you can delete the time codes successfully. So now this is the time attendance module with 0 configuration as first time. So we go to the time code, add time code. We will type here that this is the normal. I'm enabling the autofill in the Chrome. This is a Chrome feature, so that's why you can see that. You can put any description. This is a time attendance management. The time rate is 1, and I'm going to show it as green, which is going to be displayed on the shift once we start to assign the time codes to the shift. So you have 3 buttons here, which is apply and add new time code, or apply and next, which will take you to the shift, or just apply, and that's it. So adding another time code, let's have overtime into 1.5, for example. So this is an overtime. It is 1.5, and I will choose the color as yellow. This is my own setup. Everyone can do whatever he wants. This is a normal basic configuration. I'm going to add one more. So I'm going to say apply and add new. So this is going to be overtime into 2. So this is multiplied by 2. And I'm going to keep it as red, but don't forget that this is overtime, not attendance management. Maybe I would like to add another overtime multiply by, let's say, 3.25. So I will say here it's overtime and it is 3.25. And I'm going to choose, for example, let's say the purple color. So I'm going to hit apply and add new in order to show you the leave management. So this is going to be like a paid leave. So it is like worked paid leave, then apply and add new, another leave management as unpaid leave. So this is can be considered as not worked, for example, to show you that this unpaid leave, it's not to be deducted from his annual leave. So we click apply. This is a simple configuration, or usually what almost everyone needs to configure. So the normal rate, which is usually 1, and a couple of overtimes if you would like to do it in the shift. And maybe you have paid leave, unpaid leave, maternity leave, XYZ as per the customer HR policy or leave regulation. So is there any question about the time code? I do believe this is straightforward configuration. It is a time rate. So each time code should have a time rate. So this is the time rate of each code, and this is the colors of each one. Those are the only one leave. This is overtime. Those are not overtime. And this is for attendance. Those are not for attendance. This is for calculating the overtime. Is there any question? Okay, there is 3 hand raises. So let's start with Mr. Nathaniel Adu. I have, you can unmute your mic and speak out your question. I'm sorry, your voice is a little bit far away. Can you please?
You have to create, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
You have to create the time rate yourself, or a standard, a 1, 1.5, or 2.
Usually this is as per the HR policy of the customer. Some companies, they do pay for the overtime, and some companies, they do not. So if they do not pay overtime, so you don't need to create this overtime time codes. So you will have only this normal, which is by 1. And if they want to have a look of the leaves in the report, then again, usually there is paid leave, unpaid leave. I don't know what else leaves are allowed in the HR policy. As I said, maybe maternity or paternity leaves can be added as well. So this is the time codes. Usually, very rare cases that they calculate each hour more than 1 hour. Usually when you go to your office, your duty, assuming it is from 8 to 5, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So this is almost, let's say, the normal cases for most of the normal offices, despite the fact the factories, which they are working 24/7, or construction sites, a different story. However, usually it is, let's say, it's 8 to 5. So usually it's by 1. You know, some rare cases for special cases, which I have seen only once during the past almost 2.5 years, that we have customer who's just working 4 hours in very specific field. So each 1 hour calculate 2 hours. So he comes to work only 4 hours, but his attendance as 8 hours. So we need to create that time code into 2. So when he works 4 hours, the report will show as 8. Okay, thank you. Mr. Eric Oma, you can unmute your mic and speak your question.
Okay, my question is still on the time rate as well. Even though I've gotten some clarification from the last question that you answered, I just want to ask or add, like on the unpaid leave section, since it's not going to be a paid leave, is it possible that we put 0 on the time rate?
It is again, it is not to be calculated. It is not going to show as a time. It is just only to show that each leave is 1 per day. It is not as time, okay. Because when you have a leave, it's not you have 2 hours leave. You are having the full day leave, right? So when you get a leave, I will show you that at the end. When you have a leave, it is for the day. It is not for portion of the day. I do believe let's wait until we reach to the reports, and once I open the report and show you how to assign the leave there, then you will have a better understanding. Then we can have this discussion again.
It's okay, Hassan.
Yeah, thank you very much. So let's continue for going to the second step, which is configuring the shift, which is a little bit hot topic. So first of all, you need to know that BioStar 2 has time attendance has 3 types of shift. The first shift called fixed shift, and this is an article from our knowledge base on how to configure that shift, which we are going to do it today. And again, the second shift is a flexible shift with the article for configuring it. And those 2 shifts which we are going to discuss today, we have a third shift, which is floating shift, which can fulfill most of the questions I have seen. Unfortunately, we are not going to discuss it. However, we can at the end of the webinar, we can have a quick look into it and quick and general discussion about it. So those are the 3 shifts which we have in BioStar 2 time attendance. So in order to add a shift, you need to go to the time attendance module, and under the shift tab, then under the shift, you select shift, then add shift. Once you click add shift, this is the window which is going to be in front of you. So let's navigate this window and understand what each parameter here do. So please note that the first part until the first check-in and last check-out is common for all the 3 shifts we have in BioStar 2. So what we discuss here now, it is applicable for all the 3 shifts configuration. So, of course, after the name and description, you can select the type of the shift, either it is fixed, flexible, or floating. Day start time, you remember we have discussed day start time, which is very important under the 24-hour shift. By default, it's set to 5 a.m. because usually every office works either from 8 or 9 or maybe 7:30. So no one goes to office before 5. So the 24 hours is going to start by 5. You can edit that as we can see in the night shift, which we are going to do in the demonstration. This is for advanced training. However, one of the questions has been asked that if our shift can be 48 or 72 hours. Actually, no, but this feature can add plus and minus 6 hours to a shift. So the total shift instead of 24 hours is going to be 36 hours. This is in advanced training. And after you practice the shift, fixed shift and flexible shift, you can easily understand how this works. The last point here in this window to be understood is the first check-in, last check-out. If you did not enable this part, this means that no transaction is going to be taken into consideration until you choose a function key on the device. So each transaction must accommodate with a function key. So if this feature is set to no, and users are using the device without pressing or clicking on the function keys, when you run the report, this will result that the report is empty because your shift configuration saying, do not check the first transaction and last transaction. Your shift is saying you must use function key. So if you are not going to use function key, please make sure that you have toggle this feature to yes. So this means either you use the function key or you don't use the function key. It is going to take the first transaction within this day start time from 5 a.m., the first transaction of the employee, and the last transaction of that employee within this 24 hours, which is started from 5 a.m. until 4 a.m., 59 minutes, 59 seconds within the same day, under the concept of 24-hour shift. So if we go for the fixed shift now, if we click the fixed shift, what comes after this part is that time segment. So here you can see that you need to choose the time code, which we have created, either time rate by 1, 1.5, XYZ, and you have the start time of this shift and the end time of this shift, and the minimum duration should be worked within this shift in order to avoid having the exception of insufficient working hours. What minimum duration means that when you come to your office by 9 and you leave by 11, so 9, 10, 11, which means 3 hours, which is less than minimum duration. If you run the report, you will have that you work for 3 hours, and there is an exception, which we call it in BioStar 2 language exception, which means that there is an alert on that user that he has insufficient working hours because you configure the shift to have a minimum working hours duration of 4 hours. So in order to avoid that exception, this user must work more than 4 hours. So that exception will not appear in his report. Then grace period, I do believe it is easy explanatory. You have if you check the box of use, then you will see that you have in for minutes and out for minutes. In this configuration, you can see that the start time is 9 o'clock in the morning. So if you come before 9 o'clock, there is no exceptions in your report. But if you come exactly at 9:00:00 seconds or later, then there will be an exception late in. So in order to give some grace period, not to show that late in exception to the user, you can give them, for example, 10 or 15 minutes. So if you type here at the end field 15 minutes, this 9 is going to be 9:15. So any employee come until 9:15, there is no late in exception. So starting from 9 hours, 15 minutes, 00 seconds, any bunch is going to have the late in. Same exactly concept is in the out. So you should not leave before 6 p.m. as per your shift configuration. So anyone leave the office before 6 p.m., there is an exception called early out. So you can give a grace period of, let's say, 10 minutes. So if you leave starting from 5:50 p.m. forward, you will not have the early out exception. So this is the grace period. If you would like to use it, check that box. If you don't want, it's up to you. Then, of course, you click add, and then you can add more time segment to this shift, like overtime, and this is what we are going to demonstrate live. If you continue in the fixed shift configuration, you will see that the next part having something called rounding, then meal deduction, which has 3 options by bunch, auto, and fixed. Actually, there is also meal deduction too. And then we have break time, which has 3 options, none, by bunch, and fixed. So what I'm going to explain now, I'm going to have a live explanation with whiteboard for the rounding. Then I'm going to demonstrate this and explain this in our live demonstration. So under the rounding, you have again the checkboxes to enable or not use it. So you can use it or not use it by checking this checkbox. So as you can see here, for the bunch in, we have enabled it, and the unit is 30 minutes and the point is 15 minutes. Again, for the bunch out, the unit is 30 minutes and the point is 15 minutes. So if you don't mind, allow me to launch the whiteboard. So I do believe now everyone can see this whiteboard. Before I start, please excuse me for my hand typing. I'm using this active pen, so it's a little bit difficult. We are going to talk about the rounding. So everyone knows that when we use rounding in our normal numbers, you know that 9.3 is rounded to be, this is what we learned at school, if you remember. So it is 9, right? And if it's 9.7, for example, it is going to be rounded as 10. What is the rule here? The rule is this is 9. The unit is equal to 1. So the next unit is going to be 10 because the unit is 1. And the point is equal to 0.5. So 0.5. So anything happen any number comes between 9 to 9.5, it shows 9, rounded to be 9, and any figure comes between 9.5 until 10, it should be rounded to 10. So on the same concept, BioStar 2 has the same thing. So we have set up in our N. We said that the unit is equal to 30 minutes and the point is equal to 15. If we come translate this into our time, so you should come in the morning, this is for N, and your N, assuming it is 8 a.m. So this is 8 a.m. So with the unit 30, we need to add 30 minutes to the 8, so it is going to be 8:30. And the point is 15. So this point 15 is 8:15, right? So any user who punch in between 8 to 8:15, then the report will show 8. And any user who punch between 8:15 to 8:30, it is going to show 8:30. This is rare cases to be used by some of the HR when they are asking for the report from BioStar 2 time attendance. They don't want to see the user came 8:03 or 8:07. They just want to see either 8 or 8:30. So in this case, you need to use rounding for N. So you will set up the unit, you will set up the point, unit, which will be added to the N value, and point will be also added to the starting time. Accordingly, any transaction happen within this part goes here, any transaction happen within this part will show the report here. But this does not change the real-time transaction in the database. This is only to view the report. Again, on the same concept, if we would like to have it in more details for a second type for out, which is here a little bit tricky. So this is your timeline for out. And you should leave the office assuming by 5 p.m. So with the same unit is equal to 30 and the point is equal to 15. If we translate this point, going to be add to the time, but it is before, not after. So it's going to be 16:30. And the point, which is 15, it is going to be 16:45. So this means that any user is going to leave the office between 4:30 p.m. until 4:55 p.m. The report is going to show 4:30 as rounded number. And any user who leave the office between 4:55 until 5 p.m., it's going to show in the report as 5 p.m. as a rounded number. But of course, the real transaction with seconds and minutes, it is still available there. This is the main concept of rounding, which is we have used for a long time in our numbers, which used usually for rounding numbers to have one digit without fractions. So the same concept, not to see the minutes and the second in your report. So let me go back to live demonstration. Okay, let me launch BioStar 2 and go and see the shift, add shift, fixed shift, time segment, rounding. Then we will explain the meal detection and break time once we reach there in our live demonstration. So I'm gonna name this, this is morning shift. So this is morning shift. It is a fixed, this customer comes every day in the morning and leave by afternoon. So I'm going to keep the start date time at 3. We can change it. I will make it, sorry, it was 5. I'll make it 3. And I will choose first in, last out to make sure that if any user forgot to press the function key, or within today's situation of COVID-19, please everyone stay safe. Maybe you don't need to touch the device, so we will use only the first in and last out. So in the time segment, the time rate, it is the normal time rate, which we have created, multiplied by 1. So each hour is going to be 1. The start time, I will assume it is from 8 until 5. However, if you want to add grace period, you can add. If you don't, it's all up to you. So this is our first time segment. We click add. You can add more time segment if assuming that this customer has overtime. So the time rate, I will assume it is 1.5, and it is starting from 5 p.m. for 2 hours, which is 19. And you can have rounding for that as well if you want. Click add. Then you have now, it is in yellow, as you can see. So the green color was for time rate by 1. The yellow was for time rate by 1.5 as per the second time segment. You can add one more time segment, which is for another overtime, which starts by 7 p.m. until 9 p.m. and the overtime is multiplied by 2. And also no rounding, add, and this is our today's shift demonstration. Of course, you can add more. You can do whatever you want in the shift configuration. It is as per your customer policy. And rounding, as we have discussed, you can set the unit 30 and point 15, or you can set the point 10. It is all up to you as per our explanation. I'm not going to use it today. For meal detection by bunch, so this means the meal detection or meal hours used for the meal by bunch. In order to use this feature, you must touch the device and say meal start and meal end, and accordingly you cannot have a second meal detection. However, if you use auto, so this is an auto detection 1 hour whenever you have minimum working hours of 4. So if you worked in the green time segment 4 hours or more, then 1 hour is going to be deducted. And second meal deduction can be add again another maybe half an hour. For example, when you work if you exceed 6 hours working, then another 30 minutes is going to be allocated as meal detection as auto. And if you go for fixed, so it is, you have the first meal from 12 to 1, and the second one maybe from 6 to 7 p.m. if you want to use the second meal, and the policy of this customer is using that. I have seen that in a couple of construction site that they come early in the morning by 6 a.m. They have a tea break maybe by 9, then they have the lunch break by 12:30 or 1. So they have 2 meal deduction. The same concept for break. It is none. It is not going to be calculated or used, and can be by bunch. So you must use the bunch in and bunch out. And maximum time allowed, for example, if I give 60, and if the guy leave the office and he bunched break time start, and he exceeds 60 minutes until he comes back, there will be an exception for him in his report. And for fixed, it is from break, it is, for example, from 12 noon until 1 p.m., for example. So those are the 3 options. I'm going to keep them by bunch in our today's demonstration. Again, the same 3 buttons are there for apply and add new, apply and next, and apply. So we can click apply for now. So this is the fixed shift, which from 8 to 9 p.m. they start time at 3. So continuing the shifts, the second shift is the flexible shift. So you have the fixed shift, flexible, floating, which is in the same, but when you choose flexible shift, you will have working hours per day additional, as we have agreed that this part is common for all the 3 shifts which we have. day start time and first in and last out. And then when you choose flexible, there will be working hours per day, which is you set within this 24 hours how many hours this employee should report it for work. In the second part of the configuration of flexible shift, you need to choose the time code for that flexible shift. And then you have a couple of options, which is bunch in time limit, which means you are free to come and work within the 24 hours at any time you want, but please do not exceed 10 p.m. You can come before 10 a.m., but don't come after 10 a.m. because you will have an exception. The same thing, you can also use or not use bunch out time limit. You can leave anytime from the office, but do not leave after 6 p.m. If you want to use it, use it. If you don't use it, this means he has 8 hours within the 24-hour shift set by the day start time. Then you have the meal deduction, 1 and 2, rounding and break time as being exactly what we have explained. So let us go to BioStar 2 and see the flexible shift. So add shift. I will name it flexible, and it is a flexible. Now you see the configuration has been changed. Also first in, last out. He should work for 9 hours per day. It is the normal by 1. If you want to have bunch in time limit, bunch out time limit, as we agreed that if you use bunch in time limit, this means you are free to come anytime from, let's make it 3, for example, from 3 a.m. until next day 3 a.m. You are free to come anytime to work for 9 hours, but do not come after 10. Otherwise, you'll have exception, or do not leave after 8 p.m. For example, if you would like to add this constraint to your shift. Again, the meal detection and rounding and break time is there to be configured. So I'm going to click apply. I will also add one more shift, which is here. It is should be in advanced training, but it is very easy to explain. So I will assume that myself has a parents meeting in the school with my kids next week. So in order to do that, I need to I need to contact the HR to change my shift on that parent day, not to come from morning, for example, which is my normal morning shift 8 to 5, and then overtime, but to come from 12 p.m. To 9 p.m., for example, because in the morning I have some personal situation, which is the parents meeting. So in this case, we need to add one more shift, but please make sure that the day start time is the same as what shift has been assigned to me. So I'm going to add shift. I'm going to say it is morning excuse. Okay, so the same start time, first in, last out. It is starting from 12 p.m. until 9 p.m. And I'm not gonna add here any more overtime because I need to go home, because next day my duty is from 8 to 5, and then nothing else. I'm gonna configure, apply. So this is another morning excuse. So this is morning shift. Let's have the night shift added as well. So I'm gonna make a night shift. Night shift, we will assume it is from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. So 8 p.m. minus 4. So it is going to be 4 p.m. as a day start time, first in, last out. So time rate is 1, 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. I can also add overtime if you would like to. So overtime by 1.5. If I stayed more than 2 more hours, for example, in the morning, still also I can add more overtime to the time segment if I want, if I stayed in the office from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And as you can see clearly here, our day start from 8 p.m. and finish in 9 a.m. Finish at 5 a.m. But if still I have some work I'm doing it for 2 hours, my time will be 1.5. and it will multiply by 2 if I stayed for additional 2 hours. So this is a night shift. So any question about the shift? Mr. Eric is asking to repeat about the first check-in and last check-out explanation. First check-in, last check-out. You know that in the device setting, if you go to the device and you have set up the function keys and you have forced the user to must choose a function key, then this means you don't need to enable this, because none of the user transaction is going to be accepted without a code. So once first in, last out has been not used, it is disabled. This means function keys must be used. Function keys must be used. If you enable this feature, the function key will be ignored. Either you use it or not, it is going to be ignored. And the report is going to take the first transaction has been done after 3 a.m. until the last transaction has been done until 2 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds a.m. So we'll take the first transaction, last transaction, and do the calculation, how long have you stayed there. This is the explanation of first and last out. Does it mean that rounding and grace does the same work? No, rounding, that it will show you either a rounding number. Instead of showing you 9.3, it will show you 9. Instead of showing you 9.6, it will show you 10. So the same thing, instead of showing 3 minutes, 37 seconds, it will show 8. And instead of showing 8 a.m., 21 minute, 46 seconds, it will show 8:30. That's rounding. But for grace period, to avoid the exception, not to show the exception late in or early out in the report, you are giving him a grace period to come late to the office without having the exception. But this will not have any impact on the time. If you come 8:15, you are coming 8:15. If you leave before 5, still you have less working hours. You need to leave the office 5:15. So the grace period does not have any impact on the time calculation. It is just only about to show if the employees are committed to come on time and leave on time to avoid late in and early out. This is the difference between rounding and grace. I do believe let's continue, and more questions are there. I will answer all of them at the end of the webinar to just stay on our time schedule for today's webinar. So this is the configuration of shift. So the next step is the schedule template, which is very simple. The difficult part was just only the shift, which I know there is more question about it. I promise you all that all of the questions will be answered before this webinar is end. So moving to the schedule template, you can create weekly and daily schedule template by the created shift. So you go to the time attendance module, you go to the shift tab, you go to the schedule template, you click the button of add schedule template, and this is the window which you are going to see. So what do we have here after the name and description? You have the first type, which is weekly, the second type, which is daily, and it is up to 90 days cycle. What each one means, I'm going to explain now in details. The next thing is that you can set up the weekend days. Here you choose 1 or 2 days, and all the created shift is going to be appeared on the right side of the template. And and here is the shift which is going to be assigned to each day. So all what you need to do is to choose the shift, drag and drop it to the day you want, and then it will result that shift is assigned to that day, which is Monday. So you click, this is for the weekly now. Let's explain the weekly, which we have from Monday to Sunday. This is our normal 7-day cycle. 7-day cycle means we start Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's 7. Then repeat again Monday. And that's why it is 7 days cycle. So in the weekly, it is 7. Every Monday, it will have this shift. And if you click copy all, it will be copy it to all the days. Then you click delete for the weekend days. Then this is your template that every day in this template, work should be from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. and overtime for the next 2 hours multiply by 1.5 and overtime multiply by 2 in the next 2 hours for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and this cycle will be repeated every week. So for daily, if we go for daily, I choose here to demonstrate one of Suprema existing customer who is using the cycle of 8 days. So 8 days. So here there is no any day name, Monday, Tuesday, it is day 1 until day 8. And after day 8 is finished, it's going to repeat again the cycle day 1, day 2, day 3. So this customer actually has the 8-day cycle to be repeated. So he has a morning shift in day 1 and day 2, and he has a flexible shift in day 3 and day 4, and day 5, 6, 7, 8 are off. So you work for 2 days in the morning, 2 days flexible, and 4 days off. So this is going to repeat regardless it is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It is a cycle of 8 days. Okay, day 1 is defined by which day? Day 1 is going to be defined by the period date of the schedule, which is coming in the next step, configuration. So let's have a quick demonstration for schedule template. Schedule template, add schedule template. I will name this the morning shift template. Let me reduce the size a little bit so it can be seen. So Saturday and Sunday are off, or maybe it is Friday and Saturday is off. So I have morning shift every day except Friday and Saturday, Friday and Saturday. There it is. So this is my everyday shift inside this template, which is going to be assigned to a schedule in the next step. So this is a morning shift template. We can add a night shift template, which also maybe just Friday only maybe off in this schedule. So night shift on Monday, copy to all. Friday only, where is Friday? There is Friday delete. So this is every day except Friday. It is a night shift as per our shift configuration from 8 p.m. until 5 a.m. And next 2 hours from 5 to 7 has overtime multiplied by 1.5. Next 2 hours until 9 a.m. has an overtime multiplied by 2. If you remember the configuration, please do not forget your configuration. And we click apply. We can have also flexible shift for the guys who are saying flexible. So a Friday only is off, and this is the flexible, and it is every day. Where is Friday? There is Friday delete. So you are free to come and go with as per this flexible shift configuration, which has 9 hours, and the day start time is 3 a.m. So this is a flexible template which can be assigned to a schedule. As simple as this. Now we need to go to the rules. Rules is as simple as it is an overtime management for a day, a week, a month, weekend, and holiday. How it is you set up the rule and it is going to manage the overtime. So what if there is overtime already assigned in the shift? So which priority is going to be taken? The rule overtime or the shift overtime? Whenever there is a rule overtime is there and set up in the schedule, which we are going to see in the next step, it is going to be high priority and the report is going to ignore the overtime which has been assigned inside the shift. If you remember, the fixed shift has overtime, but the flexible shift, you cannot add time segment for overtime. So when you use flexible shift and you want to use overtime, please use it with the rule. So in order to create a rule, you go to the time attendance, shift, rule part, add rule, and this is the window which we are going to demonstrate in the next step. So we have the first thing which is not used. There is no rule, or daily overtime, weekly overtime, monthly overtime, weekend overtime, and holiday overtime. If you have any specific question about it, please keep it till the end of the webinar. I'm going to give an example of a weekly overtime that I have applied the 1.5 overtime multiplication after 40 hours within the week, which means the time attendance module is going to calculate how many hours you have worked per this week. And if you exceed 40 hours, each hour after this 40, it's going to be having a multiplication of 1.5 overtime. And you can apply another overtime, which here I have set up overtime multiplied by 2. After 5 hours from overtime of 1.5. So this means up to 40 hours, it's multiplied by 1. From 40 to 45, it is multiplied by 1.5. And from 45 onward, it is multiplied by 2. However, you can set up a maximum overtime hours, which is 60 hours. So again, in conclusion, this setup means that the time rate 1 is the regular rate for hours for less than 40 hours per week. It is going to be, the hours going to be multiplied by 1.5 times of the regular hour between 40 hours and 45. And it is going to multiply by the time rate of 2 if it is above 45 hours until 60 hours per week. So this is the weekly. The same concept is in daily and monthly as well. So let's have a quick demonstration. Then we will go to a couple of questions. So rule, add rule. I will name it weekly overtime rule. So it is a weekly. So apply the 1.5 after 40 hours and apply. Again, it can be only like that. So every hour, every extra hour worked within the week more than 40 hours is going to be multiplied by 1.5 unlimited until we have a limitation here. So from 40 to 60 will be multiplied by 1.5. But if I want to add an additional rule that starting from 45 hours, it should be multiplied by 2 until 60 hours. This is the configuration of the rule. So do we have any question regarding the rule and the schedule template? Mr. Adu?
Yes. Please.
Yes.
The rule says that the regular is that's up to 1 to 40 hours, and then from 40 hours to 45 is 1.5, and then from 45 and beyond is by 2. Okay, after 60
up to 60
hours,
no up to 60, yeah. After 60 nothing calculated, zero.
What? Okay, that's
zero.
what I want to.
Yeah, zero. After 60 it is zero. It is not calculated as regular hours. It will be in the total hours. Yeah, you were there in the office as a total hours, but not under your regular hours, because in the time attendance we have something called regular hours. Regular hours means that you have followed what's inside the shift. What if you exceed the hours which is out of the shift which assigned to you? This will be in the total working hours, but not in the regular working hours. So after 60, no overtime will be calculated, but the total working hour will be there as total working hour.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Abdul Majid, flexible shift, we can define more than one. Yes, you can have as many shifts as you can to create. So let's go to the last step in the configuration, which is the schedule. Here, this is after you set up all these parameters, time code, shift, schedule template, and rules. This is where you are going to assign all of those, including the users, inside the schedule. So once you go to time attendance module and go to schedule tab, not shift tab if you notice, then add schedule. This is what you are going to see. So of course, after the name and description, here you can add the rules if you create any, or if you want the schedule to follow any rules. And here you will add the schedule template. And here you will set up the period of the schedule, the start date and end date of the schedule. And here I would like to highlight that if you choose the schedule template with daily, you remember the daily cycle, like the example we gave, 8 days per cycle. So the starting date or starting day of that cycle is going to be the date you have set here. Then here you can add the holidays if you have defined any holidays in your schedule. And here you can add the users who should follow this configuration. And after you add them, they will appear in this added user, and you can delete them from here if you want to modify the schedule. Please do not start configuring the schedule configuration until you make sure that you have finished configuring your codes, your shifts, the time codes, your shifts, your schedule template, and holidays you are going to use in the schedule. So this is an example. So this is a morning schedule. It has the weekly overtime rule. It has the morning shift template, and it starts from 1st of May until December 31st, 2026. It has 2 holidays, and this is applied only for 2 users. You can create as many schedule as you want. Let's have a quick demonstration, then another Q&A session, then a short break to continue with our reports and export. Then we will have the open Q&A session. So opening BioStar 2, and let's click up. Apply. So we go to schedule, add schedule. This will be morning schedule. And I'm going to apply a rule. No, I'm going to say this is the morning shift template, and it is going to start from May. I would like to highlight that you can press here again to have a range of years. So we are in the range of 2012 until 23, and in 2020, and May 1st. So 1st May. And it's going to end, I will say, 2035. Long live for everyone. December 31st. So December 31st, year 2035. So if you have set up any holidays, you can add them. I'm just added the New Year holiday and the Independent or National Day holiday. And I can choose all the users to be followed, or I can choose a particular user group as per your user group created. So this is Suprema Middle East, for example, there is 2 guys there. So I'm adding them. So the schedule only for these users. I can maybe also add the UK guy or delete him. So this is how flexible it is. And as you can see, this is everything to be done in the configuration. I'm sorry. So then you click apply, and there is the schedule which has 2. I can add also another flexible schedule. So in the flexible schedule, there is the weekly overtime, and it is the flexible template. and it starts from January 1 until, let's say, December 31st of this year. And it has only the independent day or national day, because the new year already the shift is over. And this is applied to these two gentlemen for this shift. I can have also the night schedule. The night schedule, and it is having the night template. It starts from April 1 until, let's say, December 31st of the year 2026. And it has also, okay, sorry, delete this year. It has the national day, and it applies to this gentleman and this gentleman, for example, apply. So we have 3 schedules. Each schedule has 2 guys with different start date and end date, with different tools, with different template, with different shifts. And then the next one will be report and how to do the reporting. So is there any question regarding the configuration? Please raise your hand to speak out your question, because this is faster, or please type it in the Q&A button. Hit the Q&A button, type your question, and I will choose a couple of them quickly to answer it live. And of course, as you know, I have my colleagues from South Korea. They are already answering your questions live. Hi, everyone. Let's continue. So our next point is the available reports and limitations. So please note that BioStar 2 has time attendance has 8 preset reports. The first report called daily report, the daily summary report, the individual report, the individual summary, the leave, exception, edit history, working alarm time report. So those are the 8 reports available within BioStar 2 time attendance module. So if we go to explore the first window of the daily report, we will see that here you have the report type, which is daily, if you are going to run it. And here the column setting. This is where you add a user group or you add individual users. Here, if you click save filter, it is going to save the last defined user group or user. So whenever you open the daily report, it is going to be maintained as those users. Here you have the reported period between daily, weekly, monthly, or custom. But please note that the custom cannot exceed 3 months. When this button is update report as per the parameter you have set here. So once you click update report, the report is going to be viewed at the bottom of the page. You have another button for CSV export, another button for PDF export. So to explain the daily report, let's navigate our column settings, all the columns which are available within the daily report. So the daily report has the below columns. It has date, name, user ID, department, which is the user group, bunch type, shift, leave, in, out, exception, regular hours, overtime hours, total work hours, break time, over break time, meal time, regular by time rate, overtime by time rate, and custom fields. So custom fields, if you configure custom fields in BioStar 2, it can be also appeared in your report, time attendance report, if you select it. So we have 18 columns plus your custom fields columns if you would like to add them to your report. Please note that you when you click column setting, you can rearrange the order of the columns by drag and drop. You can also choose which columns out of the 18 preset plus your custom field. You can uncheck and check the boxes in order to choose which column to be viewed in your report, but you can select up to maximum 15 columns. So those are the columns or fields which are available in the daily report. So in the daily summary, as you can see, it is exactly the same parameters. There is no any change, no any additional. However, the columns which is available under the daily summary are a little bit different. So it has the date, regular hours, overtime hours, total work hours, number of absence, number of insufficient work time, number of late in, number of early out, missing event type, missing bunch in, missing bunch out, break time, over break time, and meal time. Also, there is regular by time rate, overtime by time rate, paid leave, and normal. And as you can notice, there is no custom field in the daily summary report. So there is also 18 columns available in the daily summary report. Again, you can order the columns by drag and drop. You can check the boxes to view or disable or hide or unhide the columns from your report, time attendance report, and you can select up to 15 columns. If we go to the third report, which we have, which is individual report, as you can see, still all the parameters are there, which is in the previous two reports. However, it has an additional option, which is all in out bunches, which is going to show all the transaction of that user in that day in the report. So this will be useful in order to have a report which is showing all the transaction done by that user in that day. I'm going to demonstrate that, but please remember that this is available in under the individual report. So let's navigate the column setting of the individual report. So there is date, name, user ID, department, which is the user group, shift, leave, in, out, exception, regular hours, overtime hours, total work hours, break time, over break time, meal time, regular by time rate, overtime by time rate, punch type, and the custom fields. So again, if you notice, there is 18 columns, and additionally the custom fields, which is up to 10 custom fields can be created in BioStar 2. The same thing, you can reorder the columns in the report, or you can hide and unhide some of the columns, and you can select up to 15 columns. The fourth report which we have is individual summary report, which is similar to the daily and daily summary. There is no any additional thing in the parameter. However, it has different columns where they are name, user ID, department, regular hour, overtime, total work hours, number of absence, and number of insufficient work time, late in, early out, missing event type, missing bunch in, missing bunch out, the numbers of all those, break time, as well as over break time, meal time, regular by time rate, overtime by time rate, paid leave, unpaid leave, normal, and custom fields. So if you notice in the individual summary report, it has 21 columns plus the custom fields, which might be from 1 to 10. On the same concept, you can reorder by drag and drop, or you can hide and hide by the checkboxes for the columns, and you can select up to 15 columns. In the leave report, again, it is the same parameter, no changes, but the column setting, there is additional filter in the leave report, which is the filter. In this filter, you can see all the leave management time code you have created. So if you keep it none, so it will show all the time code leaves. And if you click the drop menu, you will see all the time codes with leave management appear here if you'd like to filter to see, for example, only the unpaid leave report or the paid leave report, which we have created in our time code. So let's go and see the reports the columns available in the leave report. It is the date, name, user ID, department, which is the user group. Then we have the shift, leave, and leave period. Also, there is flexible leave hours, approver comments, and custom fields. The approver comments, I'm going to demonstrate it, and the custom field. If you can see here that you have only 9 columns plus the custom field. So you can display all the 9 columns plus additional 6 columns of the custom field if you have more than 6 columns, 6 custom fields configured in BioStar 2. The same concept, you can drag and drop for reordering, hide and unhide by the checkbox of the columns, and you can select all the columns if is less than 15, including the custom fields, which I have created in our demonstration as CF1, CF2, which is custom field 1 until 10. In the exception report, again, all the same parameter is there, but it have additional also filter, and this filter to check, to choose if you want to view all the exceptions or only the absence exception, insufficient work time exception, or missing event type, missing bunch in, missing bunch out, late in, early out, missing break start or break end, missing meal start or meal end. So you can view all of them, or you can choose one of them to filter your report and view only this exception. The columns are available is date, name, user ID, department, shift, in, out. In and out is the time for in and time for out. Exception, which exception he has out of all those exceptions, and the custom fields. So as you can see, there is 8 columns plus your custom fields. So if I have 10 custom fields, so the total will be 8 plus 10, 18 fields. So you can select up to 15 columns, or you can select all the columns if you have 6 only custom fields. Drag and drop for reordering, and hide by the checkbox. The 7th report we have is edit history report. So from the name edit history, yes, you can edit the transaction of a user. However, the original transaction is going to remain in the database. So administrator can modify or add the transaction of any user. Even he can delete the transaction. So there is a report to show all this edit history of that user or users. So it is the same parameter as daily and in the daily summary. There is no any additional field. Let's explore the columns. So we have modified date and time, modified by username, modified by user ID, username, original date and time, original bunch type, modified bunch type, and finally updated date and time. So we have only 9 columns, so you can view all of them because they are less than 15 columns. Do not forget that you can reorder the columns and also hide and unhide the columns by the check box. Our last report which we have is calling working alarm time report. So as you can see, all the same parameter almost in all the reports. However, in this report, you have an additional field here called working alarm time. So this is actually if any employee exceed this 40 hours or number of hours you defined here, there is going to be a report for that user that he exceed 40 hours per week. Also, you can send an automated mail if you check this box, and if you enable the email, you can set what time this email should be sent, on which day of the week this email should be sent, and who shall receive that email. Now, if you remember the gear icon, which is the BioStar 2 time attendance module setting, there was the sender information. Let me just quickly show it to you so you can recap. This is the gear icon, which will get you to the setting of BioStar 2 time attendance. This is the sender information edit. Here you can configure the email which is going to send those emails of this report. So it will use that email configuration in order to send the email if you enable this feature from automated email on this time, on this day to those receipts. So the columns which is available in the working alarm time are date, name, user ID, department, bunch type, shift, leave. We have also in, out, exception, regular hours, overtime hours, total working hours, and break time. Additionally, we have over break time, meal time, regular by time rate, overtime by time rate, and the custom fields if you choose them and configure them in BioStar 2. The same concept, you can rearrange the columns order in the report, or you can hide and unhide any of those columns, and you can select up to 15 columns. So those are the 8 reports which we have. Now let's discuss one of the couple of the limitations, which is very important for the sales guys to know that this features are not available in BioStar 2 time attendance module. So the first limitation is that we have only 8 reports available. There is no additional report, which means that there is no customized report in BioStar 2 time attendance. What we mean by customized reports in time attendance, that you can add logo, maybe when you log in with the HR user, then the report is going to be shaped in another way, and administrator login will be in another format of the report. So this is not available in BioStar 2 time attendance module. There is also no direct integration between BioStar 2 time attendance and any third-party reporting tool. For example, Crystal Report. If you are familiar with Crystal Report, so you know exactly what we are talking about. If not, Crystal Report is a tool which will allow you to define the shape of the report by variable fields and fixed fields. And the variable fields are going to be taken from BioStar 2. So what we are highlighting here is direct integration. It is not available. However, you can integrate the Crystal Report or any reporting tool with BioStar 2 database or maybe API. And for the integration with database, API, and even SDK, we had different webinar. So please search for Suprema webinar on YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook, or even the technical support portal, which is support.supremainc.com, and you will find the webinar there, the video as well as the PDF of the presentation, and you can review the integration. Also, we don't have rotating shift. So this point number 4 might already answer many of the questions which have been asked, that we don't have rotating shift, which is usually for the factories. So we are based on the 24 hours shift, which has the day start time to define the starting point of this 24 hours. Accordingly, the transaction should be done within this 24 hours. So rotating shift, with usually there will be an Excel sheet with D, which refer to day, N refer to night, O, I think, referred for overtime, and this kind of rooster, we don't have it implemented in BioStar 2 time attendance. It is a very, let's say, easy module, not complicated, add-on to the BioStar 2 platform, but it is not that complicated configuration to comply with such rotating shift. Also, there is no emails for exceptions or any other log, except for the working alarm time report, which is report number 8, which we have discussed in the previous slide. This is the only automated email can be sent from time attendance. Some customers are asking, if I'm late in or I'm early out, I should receive an email, or maybe I'm absent, then I should receive email. Unfortunately, this is not available in BioStar 2 time attendance as well. The 6th point we have here is there is no request for leave or special permission from BioStar 2 time attendance. Some customers are asking that if the user would like to submit a leave or a special request, like for example, the parents' meeting at the school. So instead of calling the HR, telling them I would like to have next week, Monday, I have a parents' meeting at the school, so please change my shift. You cannot do that request from BioStar 2. You need to do it manually by calling or emailing your HR or your line manager for that. Also, finally, there is no automated generated report based on a specific schedule. Some of the customer also have some requirement that the report should be automatically generated on specific date and time and should be sent by email, for example. So point number 5 and 7 usually is common request from a couple of customers that the report should be generated and sent by email automatically. So those are the limitations which we have in our BioStar 2 time attendance. please be aware of it before you sell BioStar 2 time attendance to your customer, because if your customer is asking for these features, it is not there and it will not comply, unfortunately. I'm sorry to inform you this limitations. Now, going to the final point and agenda in our today's webinar, which is exporting a CSV and PDF. Then we'll have a quick Q&A session for the reports and the export. After that, as I promised, we will have an open Q&A session for all your questions. So, as you have noticed from the reports, there was 2 buttons. One of them is CSV export and the other one is PDF export. So if we explain the export of CSV, so as usually you just run the report and update the report, then the report will be displayed, then click CSV export, then a file is going to be downloaded. You open the file, it is going to show you the information of the updated report you have selected. So this is the columns which we have choose, and this is the order which we have choose, and this is the result when you update the report, and then you have click export CSV. And as you can see here, I have 3 custom fields added to my report, which one of them is gender, which is male. The second one is nationality, which is Egyptian, which is my nationality. And finally, for example, maybe the blood type, maybe it is B. So this is the CSV export. And in order to go to the export for the PDF, the same thing, you update the report. You will have your report has been viewed in BioStar 2. You click on PDF export. So a pop-up window is going to appear, which will show the title. So you can change the title. Usually this title by default will take the report which you are running or generating. You can change the name. In the example, I just type daily report by Hatem, so it is I change it. You can show this title in every page if you check that checkbox. So if you would like to have that, you can do that. And you can add the footer if you want to. And if you enable the footer comment, still you can modify the footer text. We have 2 sizes of pages available, which is A4 and letter. And you click export, and the PDF file is going to be exported. However, I would like to highlight that common frequent asked questions, FAQ, which is coming for the PDF export, that when you click export, nothing downloaded. So the reason is that your Chrome has a pop-up blocker. So you need to allow the pop-up. So in order to do that, please go to the Chrome setting, then go to the site setting, then go to the pop-ups and redirects and make it allow. So when you reach to the pop-up and redirect, you will reach to this window. So you go under the allowed and please enable it. Once you enable it and you click export, then the PDF file is going to be downloaded. So it is going to be in this format. So this is your title, which I have modified it by adding this. This is the date of the report. This is the details with the columns. And as you can see here, the footer, which I have changed it, also created by Hatem Ahla. And of course, it can has many pages depending on your running, on your updated report, which is here. So I'm going to open the Q&A session now, but please allow me before I open the session to have a quick feedback from your side. I'm going to launch the first feedback from you. We have 2 only. The first one is only having 2 questions. So it is anonymous, so we don't know what you choose. So we appreciate your honest feedback. I'm going to give some time for all of you. Please go ahead and tell me your feedback about, tell us your feedback about today's webinar. So 25% has been completed, has been already selected 2 questions. Please give me some more time for others in order to participate in this poll. Thank you very much for your feedback. So let's go ahead for the Q&A session. Raise your hand if you have a question, and you can type your question. In the meantime, I'm going to view the reports which is available in BioStar 2. So the daily report, I will choose, for example, the monthly and May, and I'm going to choose one user and update the report. And you will get the result of this user attendance. This is as well in June, the month of June. The second report is the daily summary for the month of June, update report for this user. And of course, we have said that you can arrange the columns. So maybe date first, then overtime hours. I don't want the number of absent, and I don't want this. So that's it, the information. So we can CSV exported or PDF exported, and we can modify the title, show it or not, as well as the footer if you want to add it or not, and modify it as well and click export. The individual report has the same thing, which, for example, I will show the month of May, and this is the report with all in and out. But if you choose, sorry, this was for check in and out only. If you choose all in and out, it's going to show every day. So for example, on May 4, I had out as 8, then in at 10, then out at 11, then in as 13, 14, 17 in this day. This day I had in and out, and so on. So it's going to show all the transactions per day per user. So this is useful to know. This was one of the questions that he wants to know how long he was out. So from this report, you can notice that, which is the individual report. Individual summary is the same thing. It's having different columns as per our presentation. So this is the month. This is the month of July. This is the user group, the regular hours, the overtime, the total work hours, number of absent, number of insufficient work time, number of late in, number of early out, number of missing, as per your column setting is going to be displayed. You can add a couple of the custom fields, which is going to be displayed in the report as well, if you would like to. So this is the individual summary. Leave report has the leave management time code, which we have created. So we have created only 2 leave management, so we can filter it. And the exception report, it has all the exceptions, which you can choose any of them and choose the user, and accordingly, or the user group and the time period of the report, update the report, and you will have where are those exceptions has occurred. Edit history. So in the month of July for this user, for example, this is all the edited history for him, including the original and modified history. Work alarm time, if you configure it with the time, then you can send the automated email which exceeding the 40 hours per week, working hours exceeding 40 hours, which you have set here. Now, I would like also to give some more notes about or additional hints, which will be useful for you. If you remember, we have said that Hatem has a parents' day on next week. So if I go in the schedule under the morning schedule where this user or employee is there, so every day, as you can see, I have the morning shift. Accordingly, let's say on Monday, 15th of June, so I requested to change my shift from 8 to 5 to be the morning excuse. So simply I click on that day, I add temporary schedule. Then I will name it, for example, parents day or meeting. Then I will choose that morning executes shift, and it is going to apply only on one day. And also we have the option to add it to other users, but because this schedule has only 2 users, you can apply to the other users within this schedule. Click apply, and then every day I have my normal schedule, a shift, which is morning shift, except 15th of June, my shift has been changed to be the morning execute shift, which has from 12 noon until 9 p.m. Also, I will assume that the next day I have requested to have a leave. So I click one click on that day, add leave. Then I can choose between the time code leave management, which I have chosen earlier. So I will assume that this is paid leave, and it is just only for one day. And I can apply it also to other users in the same schedule, and I can have the approver comment. So I will say here to be deducted from the annual leave, for example. So this is the approver comment, which is in the column, one of the reports column. So you remember there is a column has the name approver comment. So it's going to display what we wrote here. So now on that day, I have a paid leave, and maybe this is the last day I have in my annual leave. So I requested another day leave. So and the next day it's going to be unpaid leave. And it is assigned here. Also, it can be applied to other. So this is how to assign a temporary shift for a user, and to add paid leave or unpaid leave or whatever leave we have created in the time code leave management. So we have another Mr. Minasi. I'm sorry if I don't pronounce your name correctly. Please unmute your mic and you can speak out your question.
Okay. I am not sure that my question will fall under floating shift, but one of the client's requirements is that, for example, the guards will work for 2 nights straight, and then they'll have a break one day after, and then the loop continues on that
Perfect.
sequence. And
then we go to the shift. What is their duty time?
+0.
No, duty time.
Duty time. Okay.
Yes.
They start at 2100, and then I think they finish at 500.
So this is guard 21 to 5, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And they have another timing, right? So add another shift, which is starting from
they start from
I understand your question that they have 2 days in a shift and another 2
Yes.
days shift, and maybe some 2 days with nothing as off, and then it will repeat it, right?
Yes. So this time is the same as before. That is 2100 to 5.
So it's the same. No need to make another shift. So we have only that time. So when you go to the template, now it is a cycle. So it is daily, right? This cycle is going to repeat every how many days?
3 days, 2 working, and then 1 resting.
1 off. So we will choose 3 days. We will go guard. We will go to the first day and the second day. That's it. And do they have any weekend? This will be regardless, because in the cycle it will ignore the weekend. So
yes.
What's happening now here on the first day, they will have this shift, which is guard from 2100 to 5 a.m. and the second day as well, and the third day is off, and it's going to be repeated continuously. So this is
perfect.
What they call guard template. Then apply. Then I will go to the schedule. I will add a schedule. This is the guard schedule. And this is their guard template, which has the cycle of 3, which we just created. When it is a thing, I will assume it start on 1st of June. So 1st of June is Monday, right?
Yes.
And of course, this is maybe a contract until the end of this year, for example.
Okay.
And those users are X and Y. So let me choose, for example, this user and this user, for example. So apply. Okay, so one of them, or maybe one of them is in another schedule.
Okay.
Yes, let me find someone who is not in schedule. Okay. Cancel. So in the night shift, we have Dwayne and Cyril. I will delete them. And then I will go to the guard shift, which we are going to create. And I will choose
Michael and Cyril.
Dwayne. Let's say Dwayne.
Dwayne, sorry. Yeah.
That's an example. Yes, for example.
Of course.
The template, we forgot the template. So this is the guard template. So it is from 1st of June, which is Monday. Remember, it is Monday.
Yeah.
Until, or let us make it from May. So when you run the report, it will be easy for you to say. So it is from 1st of May, Friday, until end of the year. This is their contract. Apply. So this guard is having that schedule. So if we go to the report and we go to that employee and run the report from May. Before that, let me just tell you that in the template, now this day one is Monday, which sorry, Friday, which is what? Which is 1st of May, right? Which is linked in the schedule, starting date, which we have explained in our webinar today. So this is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and so on. So this is the cycle of daily. So if we go now to the report and we choose the user who is there, and I will save the filter now, it is always here, Dwayne. And for example, update here for 3 because it's off, 4, 5, no 6 because it's off, 7, 8, and so on.
Perfect.
So this is how to configure such kind of cycle. The perfect thing about this customer, he has a cycle, but rotating shift, it is not fixed. This is considered as fixed, by the way. This is considered as, because he comes working 2 days and then 1 day off, 2 days and 1 day off, and it's rotating. This means BioStar 2 time attendance can support such thing. But if 1 week morning, 1 week evening, 1 week morning, 1 week evening, there is a workaround, but it is not sufficient, because simply you can go to the template, create a template with weekly 90 days, and you choose the first day is flexible, then this is night, then this is morning, you know, as beer night, but it will end after months. Then you need to create again after 3 months.
Yes.
So this is the concept of BioStar 2 time attendance module.
No,
hopefully,
perfect. Thank you very much. Yes, it did. Thank you.
Most welcome. Thank you. So is there any, yes, Mr. Langa? Mr. Langa, you can unmute your mic and speak out your question.
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yes, I do hear you, Cloud.
I've asked you before. My question was about to control the staff, about the timing they go out and they go in.
Yeah, actually, I have said that in my report demonstration. So if we go to the individual report and you choose all in out and update the report, you will see my transaction in that day. So when I in, when I'm out, within 1 day.
Okay, fine.
So
in this point, I can control when the person took time when he was out, okay?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thank you. I think is that thing I wanted to know.
Very good, very good.
Yeah, fine. So, but I cannot obligate the user to punch it on the device.
No, you can. So if you go to the device and you click time and attendance required and you enable it, then he must choose. But if he did not choose break start or meal start, then the report will show different calculation. Then you need to go back to his report and you modify it yourself. So for example, this is all his in and out, and this is the transaction, and it should be in, for example, you click on that transaction, then it should have been something else. It should be, for example, meal time end or meal time start. Then then the report will be run correctly if he choose the wrong button. If he choose a wrong button.
Okay, understood.
So
okay,
this
thank
is
you.
how to, this is also for everyone. This is how to edit the transaction, that under the column in or out, just click and you can modify the transaction, delete it, or add a transaction for user.
Okay, fine. Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Amadou, you can unmute your mic and speak out your question.
Thank you very much for this brilliant webinar where we are understanding exactly what your solution are doing. And mainly when you come back to just allow us to see what is the limitation of the solution. I just have maybe one question and just one clarification. At the beginning, I was not just focused, and I missed somehow the activation of the terminal. This is the first thing. If you can go, if possible.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. You said about what terminal? You said some. I didn't hear you properly. Can you repeat your question again?
I mean, like the activation of the terminal, of the terminal.
Okay, you mean the device setting?
Yes, the device setting, the activation, like how to activate the device so that it is active now in the system and can be configured.
So after you, let me get your question first. Let us have it. Let's answer each question together. So first question is how to register or unregister a device to the time attendance menu.
Yes. Yes.
If you remember that first time you run the time attendance module, it will ask for registration, right? So after you put the admin login ID and the password, then there will be a setting button. Then when you click setting, this will be in front of you with 0 devices. All the devices on BioStar 2 is going to be here. So you need to choose devices which you want to use it as time attendance. So I will add this device as well. So we have 3 devices now to be used for time attendance. Then you click register. Now those 3 devices has been come to registered devices.
Okay, great.
And then, for example, one of our attendees today has asked a question about if when you do the device setting and you change all this, what is displayed on the device? Yes, I have promised him that I'm going to show this live. So now the setting here for this face station 2, okay, is that in and the translation in Arabic to be displayed, and out we will add one symbol to just distinguish between both of them. Break start, B start, B end, meal end. Let us say here H, and here Q. This is just for demonstration, and I did not enable the TA required. Now, if you allow me to show my camera in order to prove for you the device, can you see my video?
Yes, I can see your video, yes.
Very good. So this is the device now. This is for the light. So if I click on the time attendance, you will see, I don't know if, let me, yes. You see now what exactly we typed on the device setting, it is displayed on the menu. So there is the HHHQQQ, BStart, BN, Mail, and yes.
Yes, I can see that, yeah.
So, but the point here is, if we did not use the TNA required. So if I just go to the face, show my face, it indicated without TNA, right? However, let's go back to the monitor here and go to the setting, device setting, and enable the TNA. So now you must choose a function key. Apply, go back, video. Let's go back to the device. So this is the device in normal operation, waiting for the face. So when I show my face, it is going to show me my transaction is not accepted. So if I show the face, show the buttons, I choose in, then it will take the transaction. So this is how this works. So thank you for attending today's webinar. On behalf of Suprema, stay safe.